Awkward. And then try to jump to my presentation and present it to y'all. I think first I just have to share screen. Here we go. There are people outside of our house, so I'm trying to get Lola to keep it down. Quiet. Okay, I gotta move stuff around. Here we go. I've never done this with a presentation. Preview, right? Here we go. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. If you cannot hear me or if you cannot see the presentation, can you unmute yourself and like let me know, because I can't see any of you anymore. So this is really nerve-wracking. Anyways, I'm just gonna dive in until I hear somebody tell me to stop. So how to keep your pipeline filled is what I'm talking about tonight. And I'm super excited for this because I just totally struggled with hitting Success Club and like being consistent with getting people signed up all the time until I kind of learned the process of, you know, filling your pipeline and what that actually means. Because for a long time I was like, what does that even mean? Is a pipeline something that's in Google Streak? Yeah. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. What the heck is a pipeline? So when I say pipeline, I don't mean like a city pipeline or even like a Google Streak pipeline, even though that's a great way to understand what I am talking about via like a, you know, in terms of pipeline. What I am talking about is a pipeline in a business of any kind. And what that is it's a funnel in which you put people through as you're talking to them about getting signed up or joining your team. So basically, like, what it breaks down to is it's the process of building the relationship and working on people, so to speak, so that, you know, you can eventually get them to sign up. It's all this one, like this big, long process, which is absolutely amazing. So I like created steps for you guys. I believe there are 5 steps. So step 1 is basically like the hello. And this is obviously known in the Beachbody world or like in our coaching world as the reach out, the initial connection. And this step is so important because if you think about it, like if you're not doing this step every day, if you're not reaching out to new people and starting new conversations, you're eventually going to run out of people. You know, when people talk or coaches come to me and say, I have a fear that I'm going to run out of people, I'm like, well, don't worry about it. Like, as long as you're doing this step 1 of like reaching out and initially like starting a conversation, starting a relationship somewhere, you're never going to run out of people because there are like a million, I don't even know how many people on this earth, but there are so many people, like billions, right? So anyways, this is step 1. The hello or the reach out. So step 2, I just came up with like fun little names for this, but step 2 is the banter. So here, basically, like this is where we're getting to know a person. This is where we're building the trust even more. This is where we're finding like-mindedness in something or a common ground. And what I wanted to share with you guys, which is really awesome, is that like this can be created by you as a coach in so many more ways than just messaging back and forth with a person. Because I know when I first started as a coach, like I had Instagram, but we didn't have Instagram stories. We didn't have really anything but Instagram posts. And so the only way to build a relationship with somebody and like banter back and forth was by literally messaging them, or, you know, we could comment on each other's photos, but it was just all about the message. And today, guys, like we are blessed with so many different ways to build the like communication, build the relationship. Like we can react to people's stories. And I wrote here in the little graphic, prospects that you follow, because your feed should be filled with people you want on your team and in your boot camps, not the top 10 coaches, right? Like don't look at all the pretty shiny things that are out there. Keep your blinders on and keep focused on who you are trying to recruit and who you are trying to bring into your team. So we can also do this by commenting on someone's posts, also known as like the 531, or I've heard this also called the 311 lately. I don't know it just must be like, you know, a similar thing, but you're basically, if you don't know what the 531 is, it's where you comment on 5 pics of a person that you really like on Instagram. You see their page and you're like, awesome, she's amazing, I want her on my team or whatever. You comment on, or I think you like 5, you comment on 3, and then the 1 stands for like the direct message. But yeah, you can create polls, you can create quizzes in your stories, and people will interact with that kind of stuff. And that is like the best opportunity in the world to just create this banter back and forth. Because if you've done that with a person, you know, 10, 12 times on Instagram, it's going to be way easier to invite them. It's going to be way easier to like get them on board. I don't know why our like group chat is blowing up right now. So I'm just going to stop this really quick and see. Do you guys know what's going on with our group chat? Like I'm getting so many notifications. They can't get on. Why can't they get on? Sorry, guys.
Every time me and Alex like hang out via Zoom, for some reason she has to send me the link and it won't let her on. Like I always set her the first one and then we always have to switch to hers.
Weird. Trying to see how to like share the link to them. I just like the only thing I can do is copy and paste it. I don't know.
Leanna, I gave her your actual room ID number, so maybe she can go to zoom.com and actually just put in the room ID. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll work for her, but I sent her it.
Yeah, the only, like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do anything. So, anyways, I guess, like, I just have to get back to this. I'm trying to even, like, open up my messages, but I can't because Zoom has everything blocked. Like, I can't see my messages. Like, the only thing I can do is send her this, so I'm just gonna try. But, whatevs. Anyways, going back to this. Sorry, Alex. I don't know what to do. Let me see where I was. Okay, so we were talking about step 2. Here we go. Okay, so I feel like you guys probably get this. Step 2, like you're just bantering back and forth. We're just building the connection, building the relationship with someone. So step 3 is like the really, really important part of this process, right? Like this is the invite. This is where I personally start to track the conversation. Like this is, and I'm going to show you guys how I start to track the conversation here. Sorry, I'm getting so hot right now. But basically the invite is where everything happens, right? Like if we're not inviting people, then we're not offering this opportunity. I feel like I've shared that with you guys a million times. So like, unless you're a new coach, then you get that. Like the invite is everything. But what I really want to emphasize to you guys is that it's so much easier to go back and like re-invite someone or follow up with someone who's already here in the process rather than being still in step 0, like never talked to them before, or step 1 or step 2. And so like that's where you kind of start to see the importance of having like a pipeline or a funnel for people to walk through as you're talking to them and getting them ready to sign up for your boot camp. Because like this way, if it's the last day of the month, you know, and you're trying to push for Success Club and you're trying to hit Success Club, and you have nobody to talk to, or what feels like nobody to talk to, you go back to these people that are, you know, you've already invited, and it's, there you go. Like it's a follow-up ready to go, and they might be ready today. Like you never know what's happening in their life. And so what I'm going to share with you guys basically is how I've been tracking these conversations at this point. And I'm not going to like stop, I'm not going to stop my screen share or whatever, because I'm just going to explain it on my phone, and I'm sure you guys all have a way to do this, but on your iPhone, there's an app called Reminders, and you can basically just like create a list, and then I title the lists on here like October invites or October coach invites or September invites or September coach invites. And so I started in the summer doing this, and it's really, really helped me, because right at this point, when I send this invite out, that's where I start to track the conversation and when it's being tracked in here. And I'm writing like little notes, like, you know, I have this one, it says living it up since 95 is her Instagram handle, invite and checked in for the October boot camp. So that means I probably invited her a while back, but I just checked in again and saw if she was, you know, interested in joining us this October. So I keep little notes next to each person's name, but that way, like if somebody falls off in your process, like you have kind of this backup plan, you have this place where they're also being tracked, you know, beyond email or whatever, where you can always go back and always go back to finding them. And like, you know, I said earlier, if you're a new coach, you probably haven't heard as much about inviting. So make sure to YouTube it or check it out in our new coach training, because there's so many videos on that. That's not what this call is about, but yeah, inviting is so important. So step 4 is basically like, let's get connected, right? Like the goal here is always to get them to email, but I added in here, like depending on the response to the invite, sometimes this doesn't happen. And so what I really love about my double tracking method, like tracking them at the invite on my phone, as well as, you know, eventually what I'll show you guys is I also track them on email. Like you have this double protection of tracking them so you never lose them, and that you have, you know, so many contacts, so many people in this pipeline that you're never running out of people. You're never like freaking out about not hitting Success Club because you have so many people, right? So you don't have to worry if like you can't get their email for some reason, or maybe they don't even use email for some reason, because you've already started tracking them. And then I just added here at the bottom, if they don't use email or they say they don't keep up with email, I wanted to share with you guys that I always give them multiple options to stay connected after my initial invite. So this is just like an example. I would say to somebody like, girl, I'm so freaking pumped to share with you even more. Do you use email? If so, I'd love to keep chatting on there, because it's way easier for me to keep up with, and that way I can prioritize our convo, but I also love chatting on the phone. So just like giving them options, even with the invite or after the invite, so that they're not like pressured to email, but that you have some point of contact, right? So step 5, this is where we kind of dive into email. So I'm going to show you guys my Google Streak, not quite yet, because I just want to go over these 3 main steps in email. But the goal is basically to share, educate, and then help. So first, we want to share our story with them. Like we want to share how these programs, this community, and this opportunity to be a coach has actually changed our life, right? Like that's where I send out my video to them. That's like the first thing I share. I know Brienne has a PDF, which is just really awesome. Another like great way to share your story with all of this stuff. And then emailing back and forth is another way. Like if you're a newer coach and you haven't made a video, you haven't made a PDF, like you can totally just email back and forth with people. But I wanted to emphasize that the visuals work. So don't underestimate the power of that. Like when you have the time, make one of those things, make a video, make a PDF to share with someone, because it totally changes the game. Like I remember getting a video from my coach initially, and I was like, wait, she's a real human. Like this isn't just, you know, a fake thing. Like just because it's virtual doesn't mean it's not real, right? And that proves that it's real. So the second part of that, educating them, I think this is a really important step that a lot of coaches miss out on, and that like our job is to help people with health, right? Like we want to get them healthier and happier in their body. And a lot of times people aren't willing to make the payment. They aren't willing to invest in their health or make the time for it, because health, like fitness and health, can be hard for people. It's super easy to quit on yourself with health and fitness, right? Like people do it all the time, every single day, every month of the year. So I think it's really important to just through our email conversations to educate them on why this stuff that we're doing, this, you know, these programs and this nutrition plan, like why it actually works. Like give them some science, give them some freaking proof. So I mean, you can share with them like before and after pictures, but what I really like sharing is proof in the way of how it relates to my story. So just a few examples here are like, you know, I didn't know before Beachbody that. Like, what did Beachbody educate you on, or what did these groups educate you on? So for example, the amount of vegetables, protein, healthy fats I eat, aka how I feel my body, directly relates to my stamina for my workouts and overall energy through the day, acne, good skin. Like, I didn't know that stuff was all related, right? And like, once I started learning about it, I was so excited about health. Another thing was just like that all humans are nutrient deficient because the way our food industry and farming industry is going, food isn't grown or processed like it used to be. And then Shakeology, like that's where that fills in those gaps. Another one is just that workouts actually create happy hormones, endorphins, right? Like that's why we're always so happy, because we're working out all the time, like creating that stuff. And then the last main step of emailing them is to help them, right? Find out what they need, get them to be excited about health, and then solve the problem, provide the solution, get them plugged into our groups. So an example for this one is, you know, if I have been, you know, I shared my story, I educated them on why this stuff works, I gave them proof. I love to share like a video teaser of the new program if that's something that they're really excited about. Like I've shared the work with a ton of girls and they're like, oh, that sounds really awesome. Like sounds so badass. And then I'll share the video teaser because it's so cool. Like Beachbody gave us and created that tool for us. And then, you know, if there's anything else that relates to how I can help them get involved, like maybe they have an objection of money, or maybe they have an objection of time, like answer those questions, explain the cost of Beachbody compared to personal training, explain how workouts are from a Netflix style gym and anyone has time for a 20-minute workout, right? So that's where it's like, we actually have to listen to what they're saying about what they need and get them plugged in specifically to the right program, and get them signed up and not let it sit at the objection, but like solve their problem, get rid of the objection and say like, you don't need to worry about that because we've got it covered, right? Our price is great. Like our workouts are great, all that stuff. So yeah, here's where I say Google Streak on here. So this is if you don't know what Google Streak is, it's an actual pipeline that does all of this stuff for me that I just mentioned to you guys, but with like the ability to create templates and save templates for each step of your personal process. And your process doesn't have to look like mine, but I did just want to show you guys really quickly what mine looks like so that you can, I mean, if you ever use Google Streak or end up doing that, you can figure it out. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to move the chat. It's like in the middle of my screen. There we go. Oh, okay. Can you guys see this? Lola, hush! Inside base. Oh my goodness, sorry. Okay, so here are my pipelines on the side. And then here we have like, I have a pipeline for my current customers, my 21 days group, my 80-day obsession group, my 4 group. Like I used to make pipelines for each group, but what I'm talking to you guys about is the challenge prospects pipeline. So these are people, like I said, I have gotten their email. They've been through all steps of my process, 0, 1, 2, 3, and now they're in my email and I'm trying to actually like get them signed up and in on our group, right? So I created this a really long time ago. So nowadays I really don't use these boxes. Like, yeah, there are people there, but I'm not reaching out to them as much. Those were back in the day when I didn't really know how to use Streak. So I was just like, what do I do with all these boxes? So I start with kind of like interest form. And that's what I just wanted to show you guys really, really quick is like, this is where it starts. Like when somebody wants to get involved in my boot camp, I try to get their email. I try to get them to fill out my form. If they won't fill out my form, then I'll just send them my form via email. I'll be like, please fill this out. And then the next one is contacted. So it's like, okay, now I know like we've at least talked on email back and forth once. Like they filled out my form, I've responded, they've responded. And then I have more questions, you know, like maybe there's objections that came up. And then videos, like I was saying before, right? Like I use these video tools to make sure that they know how I'm trying to help them. yeah, you guys get that. I mentioned that before. And then usually there's a conversation about Shaco and costs that comes into play. So I have a specific box for that. I have another box for like, okay, they're ready to sign up. Like we got a date on the calendar. Like they're signing up Friday at 2 p.m. Let's plan on it. Let's make it happen. And then I have boxes for sent links. So as you can see, like a lot of people, I send a link and they won't ever finish it. But that the awesome part about this, like what I'm trying to share with you guys is I have people in every single part of this process. And that is the beauty of this, because I will always have more people to help. And it'll make hitting Success Club easier and easier for you as a coach as you go throughout your journey in these months. If you create a system like this and a process, because now I like every month I can go back to these 8 people and be like, hey girl, how's your health? Like, let's get you back involved. Right. And I already know that we've talked about everything there is to talk about with the groups. The only thing that was holding them back probably was an objection or a self-limiting belief, like money or something like that, because they just bailed at the last minute. And then I have more, this goes on like add to group and then challengers. And then I have another one, I think that says like push to coach. So yeah, you guys can basically see like, it's just very organized, and yours doesn't have to be this detailed. Yours can be literally like 3 steps. Maybe you already have one, which would be awesome. But it super, super, super helps me like keep all of these things, not only like organized, but just keeps a constant influx of people that I can sign up, right? Because I'm having conversations with every single person in this process along the way. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down. I have like 2 more slides, but all in all, like working this way from this process and having this pipeline where I'm plugging people in along all of these steps, I literally always know where people are at if I ever have to reach back out to them, which I should be because that's my job, right? If you have at least one person in every single step of this process in your pipeline, you'll always have someone that's close to or ready to get signed up. And then I mentioned this before, but like when you're struggling and you're like, oh, there's just not enough people, go back to your pipeline, like go back to your process and remind yourself like they still need my help. Like all of these people, like, did you see how many people were in there? There's so many people that I still need to help. And so lastly, I just wrote down our action item for tonight. So like for all of you guys watching this, I want you to, if you haven't, like implement this tonight, to talk with multiple people in every single part of the stages every single day. So like, you know, have reach outs every single day where you're starting the conversation with new people. Have invites every single day. Have connections where you're just like building that relationship. And then for email, I mean, I'm not saying have, you know, a connection with every box in my email, but maybe just try to have a connection with one person on email every single day. Like you can kind of see that as its own step in and of itself, email. Because when they're on email, right, it's more just like the nitty gritty of like, what are your goals? What are your problems? What are your struggles and how I can help you? It's very detailed when it gets to email. But so I have a conversation with one person in each of those, like, 4 steps, 4 or 5 steps every single day. And I feel like doing that, you know, some days you're not going to have like 10 conversations in each box. Like it's never going to be even, especially different times in the month. Like right now I'm more focused on building new relationships. I'm still inviting people, but I've gotten to my non-negotiable with Success Club. And so invites aren't really my priority. But if you're not at Success Club, like invites got to be your priority, right? I wouldn't say stop doing those reach outs and stop doing the connection points. Like still do those every day, but be okay with like the balance of things and having more invites, you know, in a certain season. And then maybe you're just going to have like 3 or 1 in those other boxes. But just do 1 from every single box every single day. And then, like I said in the beginning of this, like your pipeline will always be filled. You'll always have people gradually working through it and gradually getting closer to signing up and joining your team or whatever you're trying to get them to do. And then I just wrote this here in this pretty font. There's no way not to succeed when your pipeline is always being filled, right? And then you can also kind of be a detective. Like let's say you had a really bad month or you were really struggling, like be a detective. Go look at your process and your pipeline And I do this every single month. I'll look at my phone on like the list where I start tracking people once I've invited them, and I'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, all the invites I did this month were all follow-ups. No wonder. Like, I didn't really invite new people this month. Like, what happened? You know, you can be a detective and find out, this is where there's the hole in my business. This is why things are going the way they're going. And then you can really tighten things up every single month and it'll get better and better as you go every single month. So I feel like that was quick, but hopefully that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, you can just put them in the chat. So Alex got on. Yay! Oh my gosh. Okay, everybody got on. Sorry, I couldn't even see these. Let me stop sharing. Sorry, guys, if you couldn't get on. I don't know what was happening to my Zoom.
I had a few issues too, but I think that's because I'm using the app on my phone because I'm driving, which I don't recommend doing.
Leanna, is there any way we can get a copy of that presentation?
Yeah, totally. I'm
Cool.
section.
Sorry, you just cut out. What did you say?
I just made it on Canva, so I'll download it and then upload it to our team page in the files.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you. That was
Mm-hmm.
very helpful.
Yay! I feel like it's a lot of like nitty gritty, a lot of detail stuff. And like some people, this might just be like over your head and like confusing. But for me, like I'm a detail oriented person. So for me, like I always ask Carly, like I want literally every step of your process, like give it all to me so that I can know, you know, how to make it my own and how to figure out a good system for me. And if you guys have never read the book GoPro, that I feel like he kind of also talks about some of this stuff in GoPro. He just talks about the whole network marketing business as a whole and how to kind of bring people through a process. And yeah, it's really, really, really good. So add that to your list of PD books.
Can you repeat the name of it?
GoPro. It's just GoPro. I think it's Eric Worre is the author of that. Moves management and fundraising. That's cool. Yeah, that's super similar. And I feel like if you're in a time pinch, like this really helped me to understand and like break down or just organize in my mind, like, you know, I need to get a message out in each of these boxes and I have no time. So how do I do that like the most efficiently I can and just move from each thing to each thing? And like with the examples of creating more of a connection on your stories, you know, or like throwing up the heart eyes to people's stories or whatever. I've been doing that all the time these days to create more of a connection with people. And it's just so much fun. Like it's literally fun. We get to scroll on social media and respond to people's stories for our business. Okay, friends. If nobody has any other questions, I'll stop recording this. And then I'm going to end it real quick. And then I have another little meeting for a few of you guys. So I'll see you afterwards. Bye, guys.